Welcome to the Mind Power Paradigm with Ellie,
I
Natalie, and you. I introduced you today, Ellie.
I love it. Oh my God. How are you? You look wonderful.
Good.
You look
So do
wonderful.
you. I
Thank
love this. I
thank
love meeting with you. And today I have thoughts, right? So emotions, we are emotional creatures. We are emotional human beings. And I really wanted to bring to the surface today, you know, there's a difference between who you wake up as and who do you go to bed as, right? And generally speaking, what is the difference? What is the difference between the decisions you make in the morning or throughout the day versus when all hell breaks loose at night, right? Let's just talk about someone who's getting healthy. They're like, I'm on point. And then 8 o'clock hits and
Mhm,
it's like all hell breaks loose, right?
mhm,
So like what is the difference there? And generally speaking, the difference is your emotional state,
mhm,
right? So our emotions truly control everything. And if we can start to get control over our emotions, really, really amazing things can start to happen. So, you know, what do you think is the difference between the emotional state in the morning and the emotional state in the evening? What happens there?
All right. Well, here's my view on my take on it and some of the stuff that I do with my consulting clients. It's awareness. So we have a personality, all right? And this personality that we have has been developed over decades, and most obviously it starts when we're really small. So we have all these stories, we have a personality, we have an identity that we believe that we are, that we've created. And so in the morning, we wake up with all of these great intentions because now our personality, our identity is okay, gung ho, gonna go do this, gonna go do this. So there's this drive in the identity, in the personality of, let's say, I'm a I can do it person in the morning. For some people, not everybody. Some people
Right.
wake up like poop in the morning, okay? They
Yeah.
dragging themselves in their story and their personality. But let's start with the person who gets up in the morning and goes to the gym and does all the working out. And then as the day goes and the experiences, the circumstances start to come,
Hmm.
the higher self, let's call it the higher self, the other person
Yeah.
begins to shrink, okay? And then they look at the circumstances and then they allow the circumstances around them to control their reactions, control what they say, control who they're being, as opposed to remaining true to the identity, to the higher self, and saying, okay, those circumstances are not, no, those are circumstances, not going to bug me. I am remaining true to my, basically my integrity,
Mhm.
my word to myself, who I declare myself to be. So by the end of the night, most people have totally lost integrity in who they said they were going to be that morning. So now you're in this place, you might as well just eat all the freaking cookies. I mean,
Mhm.
it's done, you're done. Okay. So and then you just like, okay, now it's like I'm sitting here, I'm going to eat all the cookies, I'm going to eat all the chocolate. Tomorrow's and I'll drink all the beer. Tomorrow's another day. Okay. And then
Bingo.
start again all over again with, and that's kind of how I see it. It's lack of awareness. It's
Yeah.
not being in touch with our thoughts, not
Mhm.
being connected to our higher intentions and our own integrity of owning and remembering what we said we were going to do. I heard a great quote. Yeah, I heard a great quote about the hardest thing to do during the day is to remind yourself of the things that you said you were going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You nailed it, Ellie. You totally nailed it, right? I mean, I would have went down the same path as far as, when you wake up, generally speaking, unless there's some type of trauma in your life, right, that you're always waking up to because it's always in the forefront. But generally speaking, most human beings, we wake up and we just wake up, right? It's just another day. And then as you go about your day, there's all these circumstances that happen, right? And then all of a sudden, our emotions start going, whether it's, work overload, or, you're not making sales in your business that day, or, you know, um, you had to leave work early because your child has to get picked up, or you're fighting with your spouse, whatever that looks like. Emotions are attached to that, right? We're emotional human beings. So all your circumstances, like you said, throughout the day, kind of trickle into that one pocket of time in the evening. And that's generally when all hell breaks loose. So if we can start to just, like you said, bring yourself back to center, have that self talk. I find like when there's stimulus on the counter or in front of you, let's just talk about your health and wellness, right? So there's this just impulsivity. We never give ourselves space or time to actually talk to ourselves, right? Like you said, integrity. Like, is this the same decision that you would be making in the morning that
Mhm.
you're making right now, and giving yourself that space to decondition that response that you always have, maybe when there's donuts on the counter, right?
Right. And like you said, also remember when we're talking about reducing our weight, you're looking at your future self. So when you're
Right.
looking at your future self, at that moment in time where all the circumstances are, and you're in this reality that does not have any connection to your future self, because your future self is an imagined state at this moment, then you're looking at everything. And what is the easiest choice? The easiest choice is to give into the circumstances and say, okay, well, I'll start again tomorrow. I mean, we'll
Hmm.
just justify it with something, and then it's a perpetual cycle.
Right.
And um key is awareness. As
Yeah.
always with everything, it's really being aware, like aware, what are my intentions for the day? And and here's the interesting thing, sometimes we put these little sticky notes all over the place, and guess what, what happens, like within a few days we don't see those sticky notes anymore. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, that sticky note is there, let me read it. Okay, it's just like gloss right over it, you don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, one of the things that I see as vitally important is constantly finding a time to step in and say, okay, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who do I say I am? Who
Hmm.
do I say I am? And then if we have to set a timer, set a timer. Who do I say I am? And then when the circumstances come, remember yourself. Who did you say you are?
Right.
Who are your future? Who are you, future, future you?
Right. Right.
Successful
Like,
businesswoman, buff, 30, 40 pounds less,
yeah.
whoever you say you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mhm.
love that. And I always tell my clients, instead of waiting for yourself to get to your future self to start
Mhm.
acting like them, right?
Mhm.
Start acting like your future self now. Start making those decisions that your future self would make, right? So I
Mhm.
find that many people come March or April are Googling how to lose weight, or maybe, it's right before the holidays and they need money, and it's, how to make a side hustle, how to make money, right? Or how, whatever that looks like, whatever you're seeking in that moment, instead of kind of getting a hold of your emotions, bringing yourself back to, like, what are your financial
Mhm.
goals? What are your health goals, right? And identifying with that person, like you said, getting your emotions aligned with that. And just giving yourself space in between, maybe spending nonsense money, really talking that through, or, giving yourself space before you just grab the donut. It's really
Yeah.
giving yourself that moment in time to give yourself space to have that self talk, to decondition
Mhm.
whatever, aversive habit you have that you want to extinguish. And that's truly what it is.
Yeah. And again, and just before we close up, it's really, people remember, we don't need to respond
Right.
emotionally to every one of our circumstances.
Right.
We all have circumstances, and we're going to continue to have circumstances. And it's like, who are we going to be despite the circumstances?
Hmm.
And also, anybody listening to this right now that I want to throw this in there, if you
Sure.
really want to learn a little bit more about your creating your future self, we have that podcast, our very first podcast,
Yep.
where we talked about stepping into our future self now. So people could go back and listen to that. It's, I'll put the link on it underneath this one.
Love it, Ellie. Yeah, and that's truly it. So, we just got to move forward, in constant awareness. I was, before we close, I want to tell a quick story, really quick. I was on the phone with a client this morning. We were talking about that stimulus, right? And never giving ourselves space. And there was a time in my life where whipped cream was my nemesis. And I'm not talking like, 2 tablespoons of whipped cream. I'm talking about full blown addiction. So there were times where I had to go into the food store, and I'd walk fast and I'd walk back, and I'd walk fast and I'd walk fast. And because I was giving myself space to decondition from just grabbing, bringing it home, and binging, right? So I gave myself that space. You're healthy. You make healthy decisions. You do not need that. Make the same decisions you would make in the morning. And then every time I went to the food store, I deconditioned that response. So guess what? I don't even care about whipped cream anymore. It doesn't like
Oh,
it's not even there. So giving yourself that space is so, so important.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like awesome, awesome.
Yeah. Good talk today, Elle.
All right. Everybody, thank you for being with us today. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'm going to link the other video, the future you leading
Yes.
into your future, below this, and we'll see you next week. Have a happy. Bye, Natalie. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
Ellie.
Ciao.